Greetings once again to you. I hope you're well today. It's the Lord's Day. It's a hot summer afternoon here in Michigan, and I thought I would once again share some thoughts from our service today, earlier in the message that I brought forth today, which was taken from John chapter 2 in the New Testament. We've got the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In fact, this story that I referred to today and spoke on is recorded in all four of the Gospels, but I'm looking at John chapter 2 here and what he had to say about it under the inspiration of the Spirit. This is about where Jesus cleared out the temple in Jerusalem. The Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple, he found those who were selling oxen and sheep and pigeons and the money changers sitting there. And making a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and oxen. And he poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And he told those who sold the pigeons, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of trade." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." So the Jews said to him, "What sign do you show us for doing these things?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." Of course, he was talking about his body. They didn't understand that. It's appalling when you think about what is done these days in the name of religion and Christianity. Some of us become so disheartened because of what purports to be Christian and is really not Christian at all. Back then, for convenience sake, they were offering for sale animals and birds and exchanging money for the proper coinage so that could be used for the temple offerings. And of course, making a profit. And they surrounded the holy site, the temple in Jerusalem, and then they began to encroach more and more towards the temple itself. Jesus says this is not true faith. This is not religion. You might be one of those persons that says, "I could almost believe this thing called Christianity if there weren't so many scams. So many hucksters. It's nothing but a scam. It's nothing but a ripoff. And anybody who falls for it is just a dupe. It's just a stupid idiot." Jesus was, in a sense, of the same mindset. This is not true faith. This is not sincere worship. Sincere worship, is from your heart and really has virtually nothing to do with money. Now, is there a time to give to God? Yes, that is part of our worship. To give of our money. To give God his portion. And that's a separate discussion. And there is sacrifice, but the final sacrifice of Jesus has now been made. And therefore, we don't believe in a mass sacrifice, the sacrifice of elements which we believe are turned into the literal body and blood of Christ. The sacrifice has been made according to the book of Hebrews for all time, for all people. Our task is to believe and then to follow. Not just believe intellectually, but believe to the point of committing our lives to Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, though, and Jesus points this out, and in one sense I relish in this thought that he says, in effect, true religion is not about merchandising. And yet it's so easy, nowadays you turn on some program on your set and you see all kinds of offers. For a gift of such and such, you will receive this. For a monthly commitment of. And everything and anything is sold in the name of Christianity. It is appalling. Religion, says some, is big business. Well, it is. In one sense, in a worldly sense. Just look around. It's everywhere. There's money to be made, and so therefore we have the hucksters, and we have the con men and the clowns that will do anything and say anything to please people, to increase their bank account. But this is not true religion. Don't let this confuse you and distort you from what is true. There is true religion. There is a real God, and there is the possibility for you and I to have a real relationship with that God. There have always been false prophets. There have always been false teachers. There have always been swindlers and showmen who will strut around and do anything and say anything in order to convince you that they're real and ultimately, again, to get gain from you. Godliness, according to Paul in his letter to Timothy, is not a means of gain. Godliness is godliness. Christianity should never be a means of gain, but you say, but it is so much at the time, so much so I'm disgusted. I have to confess, there's been a few times where I have been so disgusted with what I see in the name of Christianity. It's been tempting to walk away from it all. But I take comfort in seeing Jesus here, angry about it, upset about it. This is God incarnate, upset about it. So much so, he's going to turn things upside down. He's not going to put up with it. And one day, in the end of time, he will turn it all upside down, or better said, he will turn it all right side up. There is coming a judgment. It's appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment. And those who have used religion, used Christianity in particular, for their own financial purposes, will be judged. And may God have mercy on them. But that does not mean, again, the real article, the truth of Christ and his claims, and the reality of God and the teachings of the Bible, that does not mean that these are all untrue. God is real. The Word still stands. The truth of God remains. There is true Christianity. There are true men and women of God. They're everywhere, just as the hucksters are. You say, well, there's a lot more fakes than there are sincere people. That may be true. But all it really takes is one sincere person. Now, I didn't say perfect person, but I said a sincere person, a sincere Christian who's really trying, All it takes is one of those to show that it's not all fake. It's not all false. God does love you. Jesus wants your heart, wants mine, and he wants us to truly love him with all sincerity. Do you love him? Or are you letting these problem people stop you from pursuing the Lord? Don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. Don't let them be the reason you don't worship God. Many people start off even again going to church and they see so much hypocrisy in the church. so many things that are done that are questionable. Maybe so. I've seen some myself. I've worked in the church for years. Does that mean, again, because there are counterfeits, there is not the real thing? No, there is the real thing. There's counterfeit money, but there is genuine money. And there are counterfeit Christs. Jesus said many will come claiming to be the Messiah, but I am the true one. And there are many who claim to be sincere Christians and sincere teachers that are not. But still, again, there are those that are real. And don't let the fakes cause you, in your anger and your righteous indignation, if it be that, to leave the temple courts and never come back. Confront it in your own mind, confront it in your own life, the hypocrisy even in yourself. And know that, again, as we get rid of all the trash and all that which is displeasing to God, we can come back to what is real. God bless you today.